Lizzie, come on. Let's see. Yay! Woohoo! Who's a good girl? Who's a good girl? Only from our very narrow, limited view does our life have a beginning and an end. If we could get outside of our personal identity and even outside of our human perception, we would see what every plant and every other living being is teaching us, which is that life goes on forever. There is only rebirth. Time had no beginning. It will never end. And life has gone on forever and will go on forever. Not just in this universe, but in what comes after and what came before. We can see change as a beautiful thing. We can recognize that living in a changing universe gives rise to everything we love. And so, just as we witness the trees grow, decay, and fall, with no suffering of our own, because we know that it planted many seeds, so too can we allow for the beautiful, constant flow of life to unfold and just appreciate the entire process. For most of my life, I spent it outwardly, thinking that if I just had enough pleasure, that I would be happy, that I would find a way to make it through some of the burdens of being alive. It was only when I met a man by accident who showed me how to see through that endless chase for more, how to turn inward, to face any trauma and challenges, and to begin to heal what I didn't even know needed healing. And that accidental encounter led to a 15-year journey within, to find out who I was beneath my past, my conditioning, and my culture, beyond my name and my body. And over the course of this video, I will be sharing everything I learned on this journey. Because when everybody lives in balance and harmony within themselves, we will be able to live in balance and harmony with this planet. Like a roller coaster, life is full of ups and downs. And when we are attached to anything in life, we resist every up and down, twist and turn. But we would never want to go on a roller coaster that just sits there, that just sits at the top. That would be very boring. And so instead of resisting that roller coaster, we can appreciate that everything is changing all the time. That sometimes it is slowly, smoothly going up, and then sometimes it might scare the crap out of you. But roller coasters show that we love that, and we will pay good money for that. And there is no reason we can't enjoy this wild ride of life as well. If it was predictable, we'd really not like it. Sometimes when it's going down and we think we'll be going up soon, it just keeps going down. And if we thought that was, if the world went the way we thought it should and wanted it to, we would be so bored, we would ask for another universe. But it always goes up. There will never be a time when the ups start, because that would mean we're in a universe of constant downward, and there is no constant. Not in this magical universe. And the beauty is, we are all in heaven. We just have to realize that it is within us. We live in a universe of constant change. Every single atom and particle is vibrating millions and billions of times every second. The cells in our body are constantly being born and dying in a constant state of birth and rebirth. And each one is like a factory humming along, fulfilling all of its processes. And there is no place in this universe where there is anything that stays the same. We are in a sea of vibrating particles and flowing energy. And so attachment to people, relationships, things, status, wealth is only going to cause suffering, stress, pain, and feelings of immense loss and grief. And it blinds us from the truth of the universe. And it imprisons us in these cells of pain because we don't surf those waves of change. We try to stand up in that water and we try to create a little pool of stillness. But there is always wind blowing. There's always fish swimming. And instead of appreciating that, we're trying to create a sterile, still pond in a beautiful ocean. And simply getting rid of that attachment is building that surfboard. And the reason surfers always seem like the happiest people in the world is because they love a sport so much that all their troubles and worries can fall away, and all that matters is this one wave, this one moment that requires my full attention. And in many ways, whether they realize it or not, that is a spiritual practice. They're never focusing on the wave they could have had but they missed. They're just watching the waves, waiting for that perfect one, hoping they can ride it for a little bit, never thinking it'll last forever, knowing another one is right around the corner. Even though we all know that everything is changing, we still think we can hold on to things forever. We think that our cute dogs will stay with us forever, and that's why we suffer their loss. We think deep down that things will only get better and that we'll never have difficult days. And it can be very tempting to stay in that mindset of everything will be like this forever. And we don't want to see that change. But if we look closely, we'll see that going from puppy to adult is not a bad transition. And that it's all the miracle of life. We don't question the good things, but we question why the bad stuff happens. But we can't take one without the other. And we can't say that this universe that created puppy dogs and all of the beauty around us made a mistake or didn't think things through far enough. And so instead of questioning, we can look for the deeper lessons and meanings without putting our limited judgment, our limited perspective, and our limited information onto the infinite wisdom of this universe. We don't know how to build a universe. So something much wiser is at play here. When we truly understand the nature of impermanence on a very deep level, we welcome all change. We don't expect permanence, and we don't resist impermanence. The greatest way we can accept change as the natural process of our universe is to study our own mind and to notice its constantly changing nature, to see how it is in itself with constant activity. And we can see how letting those thoughts come and go is the practice of letting the things in our life come and go. We don't have to dwell on a thought. We don't have to go on a downward negative thought spiral. We can simply witness what comes and goes and learning to make peace with that. Not getting attached to the good thoughts or fearing and resisting the bad thoughts is the practice of life and how we can appreciate without attachment the blessings that come and peacefully let them go when it's their time. When we get a new car, we become overjoyed, drunk on happiness, really. And we lose touch with the reality that it'll get scratched, it'll break down one day, and that happiness will even go away. You know, that new car smell that we find so satisfying, as soon as that goes away, so does our happiness. That new car smell in our mind. And it's the same with any achievement, a job promotion, a raise, or any new possession, or even relationship. We really do become drunk on that love and joy we feel with newness. And we call it the honeymoon phase. But there is no reason that honeymoon phase has to even expire, because it only ends when we stop seeing the newness and start seeing the past. Every moment is new. Every moment is exciting. It doesn't even matter if you've been in the same place for 50 years. It is always new. You are always new. And so everything around you is always new. We just fail to look and give the attention and awareness that this moment deserves and requires. When we stay present, we notice those feelings. We notice the excitement. We don't just lose ourselves to the excitement. And we remember that everything has an expiration date because we have an expiration date. And so we don't get so caught up in that feeling. And so the loss isn't so unbearable either. And we can stay with those painful emotions as well because we have the peace of presence. And instead of longing for what we lost, we just take each moment as it is and we respond to this moment with what it needs. Mindfulness just means to be aware. And so when we are mindful of impermanence, it means that we see beyond the illusion of sameness. So that when we look at a tree, we sense the change that is constantly happening within it. When we see a person, we feel the constant change that is going on in these beings. We feel that vibrant life force, and we sense all the layers of reality at once. When we see a house, we can sense its slow decay. When we see a car, we sense its inevitable breakdown. And so that as we look around, we don't just see the objects, which is a limited perspective, but we stay mindful of the causes and conditions that led to this moment and what this moment will lead to in the future. The universe is like a rope, and in the past is one side of the rope, and on the other side we have the future, and in the middle is that knot. And we're just standing on that knot. But we can see that the future is intimately connected to the past. And that in a way you could say the future dictated the past just as much as the past dictated the future. Because there is no separation. It's all tied together. Impermanence is the pathway to enlightenment, to spiritual growth. It is to stay aware and mindful of how this whole planet is churning on constantly. To see the entirety of not just our human civilization, but all life on this planet constantly humming along. To see how we're constantly hurtling through space, around the sun, through the galaxies. To see the beauty of a flower because of its impermanence, rather than suffering when winter comes as they wither away. All suffering comes from this lack of seeing the world as it is. It is seeing the illusion of permanence. It is desiring for some false sense of outer security that will give us inner security. And it is recognizing that only from inner security can this planet have true outer peace, safety, and security. Spiritual growth can really be defined as simply seeing the world as it truly is. To stay in awareness that everything is in a constant state of change, that we are flying around the sun 1,000,000 miles an hour, that every atom is vibrating 1,000,000 times a second, that the beauty of flowers is that they are delicate and impermanent. To see this whole world spinning around in a constant state of growth and evolution as we evolve our consciousness personally and collectively. When we touch impermanence, we touch the reality of this universe. We see it as it is, not clouded by how we want it to be, how we think it should be. And we can actually see just how magical it really is. And that, while everything else may change, that awe and wonder never goes away. Whether you are new to spirituality or you've been on the path for a long time, this book, Aloneness to Oneness, 22 Life Lessons to Change the Way You See the World, is for you. It encapsulates all of the teachings, wisdom, and insights I gained on my 9-year journey living in ashrams and monasteries with gurus, monks, and shamans around the world. And if you would like to explore in more depth the topics I bring up in the film Aloneness to Oneness, this book is for you. All of the profits will go to a nonprofit organization dedicated to making sure that these life-changing and healing teachings are available to every single person on the planet. And thanks to your generous support already, these books can be found in prisons across the United States. We will be working to continue getting these books into the hands of people who need it so that everybody can have the path to healing and self-actualization for themselves, their communities, and our planet.